It's a 4-month journey that started back in the middle of November 2020. Nears its end, we head to the penultimate round of the Sim Grid Endurance Cup Season 2. We head to Paul Ricard in the heart of Le Castellet, France for 4 hours. Good afternoon, everybody. It's David Christie and Luke Rogers here with you, bringing you live qualifying action very, very shortly, and then the full, uninterrupted 4 hours of Paul Ricard. Good afternoon, Luke. How are you, my friends?
Well, as you know from past experience, I'm not a massive fan of driving this track, but what I do love is watching races around here because the racing is always incredible. It's such a good track for endurance racing for GT cars. It always produces exciting, slightly chaotic, and especially dramatic races. And when it's a penultimate round of a championship, I think that's exactly what you want.
And you've took the words right out my mouth there, Luke. I've got mixed feelings about this circuit as well, and we will endure that for you, ladies and gentlemen, because we love you as our audience. For me, my distaste of this course is trying to drive it, trying to figure out how to navigate your way through the mixed road markings here at Circuit Paul Ricard. But the drivers very well accustomed to the layout that we will be going round today. 3.525 miles. 5.67 kilometres round, and 4 hours of intense action. Look, going back to the championship, this obviously penultimate round 4 out of 5, and at the championship, you know, we've got 3 teams within 22 points of each other, and make that sort of 6 teams that are still potentially in with a shout on this.
Yeah, we're yet to see a repeat winner through this championship for the first 2 races, so today is, I think, an opportunity for those teams at the top. You know, you've got the 157 GWR simulated giant truck team, the ambassadors for Unwelton as well in second place. Both have already won a single race, but I think if they can come here today, if they can get a second win, stamp their authority on the championship, they're going to look so good coming into this last race next time out in the 8 hours of Silverstone.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's 8 hours of Silverstone, of course, coming up next month, March the 6th, on the same place. So if you do want to stick around for that, hit that like button here on YouTube. If you want to hit the subscription button as well, that would be very, very much appreciated. So, Paul Ricard, let's go really deep and find out exactly what we have got in store for us over the next couple of hours. Luke, I think, why don't you take us on a hot lap round here?
We're going to join in a Lexus RCF GT3, my favourite car in ACC, and a car I'm quite well accustomed to around here. It's a bit of a pig around here. The lack of downforce in this car can make it a real challenge, and that's when, you know, your setup can really help out, and why I always like to use the Coach Dave setups. You come all the way to the right here for the rotary chicane, you get back into the left, but you have to be so careful not to hit those anti-cuts and not to cut too far over those curbs, because you can very easily invalidate your lap in turn 1 and 2. A short straight here down to the hotel section. This section of the track is crucial for your precision. Again, you get wide to the left, cut onto that curb, and use this inside curb. There's a rut that you want to get your tyre in and pull your car around. First gear for this right hand. Coming back towards the mistile straight here. One more turn to go before you're flat out for ages around this track. Again, you have to be so precise here, because if you get this left-hander wrong and go off track too far here, you hit those little boards you see on the right-hand side. That's how you invalidate your lap so easily. It's all about precision, about consistency around here, because getting on the curb just a couple inches too wrong can spit you out somewhere weird and lose you a lot of lap time. It's one of the longest straights on the calendar here. You're running down to senior, super fast right-hander. You're going to brake it tiny bit, and you're going to come in through 5th gear, run wide on the exit. You can use that sort of runoff on the left-hand side, but you don't want to go too far, because if you hit those boards there, as the Lexus so nearly did, that's how you invalidate your lap. Swooping right-hander here for Bousset. Get wide on the left, but then cut back in for this apex here. Again, avoiding those anti-cuts. You can use more curb on the left here, but you want to get fast to the right-hand side of the track for Ben D'Or. It's a late apex to bring your car back round. Get early on the throttle, because you've got a fairly long run here, full throttle, before the penultimate corner of the lap. Farage de la Tour here, another late apex corner. It's almost a double apex really, as you come back to the left here for the final hairpin. First gear, touch that inside curb, but not too much, because you don't want to unsettle your car on the exit. Again, don't touch those balls on the left, because that'll be another invalidation. And now you run to the line for a lap of Paul Ricard.
Fantastically well done. Thank you very much for that, Luke Rogers. So, free practice, as you can see, coming to an end there. A little bit of a clue as to the pace to expect just now. In the pole position at the moment is the 191. That's the Racing Line Motorsport of Samuel Ratz. And we were getting the little whispers in our ear from Michael Hamlet on race production that the 191 blisteringly fast just now. We'll have to wait and see whether or not that pace carries over into qualifying session. But to bring it up to speed on what to expect, it's going to be a 20-minute qualifying session. We'll then take a very short break on the stream, and then we'll come back at 1/4 to the hour and bring you all of the build-up for the 4-hour race as well. But going back to the championship, Luke, as I said there, GTWR Simulator Truck, Giant Truck Racing at the 157 on 223 points, leading up the championship in that Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo, followed by the Mercedes of the 149 Yaz Heat Team. That's of course Andrea Capoccia and Mikhail Statsenko, and then it is the Food Critics number 39 in third place. Of course they are in the another Mercedes AMG GT3 Evo. That's Jaroslav Honzig, Dan King in the Food Critics. Now, importantly, they're not shown as shown as in the lobby, but there they are right there. Yeah, I was getting fed information in my ear there, and of course didn't actually see them, but they are there. So Jardier is here. They've not set a time on the board, but of course that's not a massive thing in free practice, is it?
Yeah, it's not the most important session of the day. Let's put it that way. They don't necessarily need to practice. It's not like real life where the practice sessions you get on the weekend are pretty much the only practice you get. These guys have been in the sim, working on their setup for probably a couple of weeks now, ready for this race. Obviously, we're once a month here, so they've got a lot of time to get that set up in. And now as we head into qualifying, that's when you can see those setups work. And I'm really intrigued to see how this goes, because traditionally this track has been pretty good for the balance performance. A couple of years ago in real life, the GT World Challenge Series used this track as their sort of benchmark for the balance performance. They would throw one guy in every single car and see what he could do, and then try and balance the cars around it. But in more recent times, they haven't been using this track, and obviously the data that ACC uses is therefore changed. So, moving away from what has traditionally been a fairly balanced track, is there going to be a car that sort of takes over today and shows its dominance? I'm not sure.
It's going to be an interesting dynamic for this race, because we've seen the Mercedes performing very, very strongly at some of the previous tracks, like Imola and Zolder, where Yaz Heat took the win, and at Zolder, and Food Critics actually took third at Imola there. So we'll see how that one pans out. 20 minutes of qualifying though underway, ladies and gentlemen, and as you could see, they were slightly keen to get out on the track and get themselves a little bit of clear air. This is the run down the Mistral Straight here on the run down to Sign Corner. The right-hander. Again, the one thing that I do actually enjoy about this course is that the danger element is quite low, because you've got these massively wide runoff areas there, and there's not a lot of gravel. You've got plenty of time to just lock on the brakes and try and avoid some drama. Hopefully we're not going to see that this afternoon, although yeah, I touched the desk here to say that. But the leading cars coming through Bendor Corner just now, through Garlaban and then Virage de la Tour. What do you think we're going to see in terms of qualifying this afternoon, Luke? Do you think we're going to see any sandbagging for the first 10 minutes? Just teams trying to see where everyone is going right now?
I think you always just want to put in your best laps soon. If you can get good laps on the board straight away, it allows you to push and try and sort of push the limits a little bit more. You want to get sort of towards maybe 3-4 tenths of your optimal within the first 10 minutes, and then use that second 10 minutes to use a bit more curb here, use a little bit more speed through corners like Senior, and try and just hold on to the car. We saw on that hot lap with the Coach Dave setup that the car get, even in a Lexus, the sort of optimal way through Senior is to slide the car. But you don't really want to be doing that on your banker lap. So your first lap's going to be a little bit slower, set that sort of benchmark, and then push your limits.
Yeah, and again, it's going to be a gradual affair, because it's not like we're going to see, in my eyes, we're not going to see banging time straight at the lap. The other thing as well is look at the conditions we've got here today. It's a positively cosy day, and I'm thoroughly jealous of the track conditions right now. Obviously on optimum just now, but 23 degrees Celsius air temperature, and the track is at a cosy 30 degrees Celsius. I think that is very nice for the tyres, but it also means that they're going to start getting sticky if the cars start being overdriven around this circuit.
It's a track where not necessarily tyre wear, but tyre heat can be a fairly big factor. There's a lot of, fast corners. It's not quite a Silverstone where tyre wear is horrendous, but there are a lot of corners where you're sort of sliding the rear, where your whole car really slides, as I said, through something like Senior. So it can be a little bit, I think, annoying when you get those sort of really high temperature races here, because the tyres just cannot handle it. But when you have these kind of temperatures, tyre heat is less of an issue. I mean, yes, it's quite warm, but it's not like it's a 40-degree race. So I think a lot of the drivers are going to be fairly happy with the conditions. Although I must admit, I do like it when it rains here.
You're a harbinger for trouble. So Rat straight into the pace there, the 191, back to where they were in free practice there, 153.433 right now, setting the time as we see Ryan Whitlock here in the number 818. That Bentley just looks absolutely awesome as it hammers its way down towards the end of the circuit for Madhouse Racing number 1. Of course, they've had quite a big team through the season. Of course, Ryan Whitlock in there with Ryan Walker, Torben Kexel, and Tony Corsaro. So we'll wait and see who actually makes an appearance this weekend out. But that's what I like about these teams, is the fact that you can have these gunners where you've got two guys that are just going absolutely for it for the 4 hours, and then you'll have a team of 4 drivers where it's all spread out evenly over those 4 hours, an hour apiece.
Yeah, I know when I do these kind of races, I'm always the amateur driver on the team. I like to race with the Butler Pal guys who obviously aren't in this championship, but when we do endurance races together, I'm sort of the guy that does the least because I'm always the slowest. But in this, all these drivers are so fast, as saying. So I think a lot of these teams will just sort of equally balance the load, and especially when it's like a 4-hour race and you've got 2 drivers, let's say. You don't want to be throwing in an extra pit stop just to make one guy drive a little bit more. You still need to do 2 stints each, so you might as well just do 2 1-hour stints. When you've got 3 drivers, expect normally what you're just going to see is the fastest driver does 2, the first stint and the last stint most likely, and then those 2 middle stints get taken over by the other drivers. But as I said, I'm intrigued to see exactly the sort of strategy that takes place today. It is, obviously, I think it's a 65-minute stint time, we're using, so there's limitations on exactly what you can do with strategy. You can't throw in a full tank on a Bentley and just do half the race. But we will see those kind of strategies in terms of drivers. You said this is a nice lap time coming out for the Lamborghini. I know it's a car that has traditionally been pretty strong here, and it's looking like it's more of the same. The one thing that really changes around here in terms of strong cars is that things like the Lamborghini, they're pretty good across the whole track, but it's not as fast in a straight line as something like a BMW or a Lexus or maybe a Mercedes, if it's not got that much downforce on it. So it can be the sort of case where you get those cars that over 1 lap are faster, but struggle to overtake, struggle to defend their positions on that incredibly long straight that is the Mistral.
For sure, and we're seeing the lap times come absolutely tumbling down here. It's quite scary to see just how fast the pace is picking up, and it's not just 1 or 2 cars. We saw Tobias Pfeffer there firing in that incredible 152.875, and you get the feeling with 12 minutes there's a lot to come from there. But Andrea Capoccia then rattled straight back with a 152.9. So it's as you were in the championship, because of course it's GTWR Simulator Giant Truck Racing in the lead in pole position. And then Yas Heat in second place as well in that 149 machine. So Andrea Capoccia really, really doing well. But then, you've got 4th place kind of upsetting that little balance there. You've got Lozio in the number 27 car, the Jean Lacy Esports Academy Aston Martin, up into 3rd place. And where is Jaroslav Honzig? Down in 9th place. It sounds bad, and on track it is bad, but that's only 6/10, nearly 7/10 off the pole position.
And there's also 12 minutes left. It's perfectly likely that maybe in one corner you got a bit bit of a wiggle on. Maybe lost his rear slightly coming out of one of the slow corners, which it's very easy to do. Corners like Bendor, I think especially, are places where you can lose a lot of time just by missing the apex slightly. Apexing too early means you can't get on the throttle as quick. So there's so many sort of intricacies and nuances around this track that you have to get perfect over the lap. There's corners that lead into multiple corners where if you get one wrong, you get 4 wrong. So I think we're going to see a lot of change on this leaderboard. I don't think we're anywhere close to where it's going to look at the end.
Ladies and gentlemen, a new challenger has appeared. That was a fantastic lap there. I'm just trying to work out where they are on the grid. That's the number 58 team of smoked salmon and fries, and that was Christopher Tveiren doing an absolutely storming lap there. He was on the sector 1 and sector 2 on pole position pace, and then he lost it in the third sector. So that came out of absolutely nowhere. That's not a name that we've really seen up at the front of the grid. As I said, 14th in the championship. Luca Berg fires back with an absolute salvo of a lap there in the number 23 Energy Racing Team outfit there. What a lap that was there. In fact, no, that's not actually the Energy Racing Team outfit, is it? That's Sancho Rocket Esports who have taken that number. Kostas Buzianis into 9th place there, and we're really seeing some proper times getting sent in. 1st to 15th covered by a second, Luke.
Yeah, you pointed out something that I think is worth bringing up with the sectors, where that is really what makes this track, I think, quite intriguing. Is you have these 3 sectors that have completely different characteristics. You've got the first sector, which is mostly down to your braking, down to your low speed, performance. You've got that middle sector, which is all about the Mistral straight, and then that final sector with the faster corners that are all about that sort of stability and that ability to get onto the curbing. And you see with different cars that they will be good in different sectors. But the Lamborghini is so good in that final sector because it's a stable platform with a lot of downforce. It's good in those sort of faster corners. You'll see things like the Lexus and the BMW be super fast in sector 2 because they gain so much on the Mistral straight. And in sector 1, you'll see something like a Porsche, sometimes even a Mercedes in the low speed corners will start to dominate. So we're going to see, both in this qualifying and in the race, that you're going to see this sort of almost like an accordion effect through the lap, where certain cars are good in certain sectors and then another one catches up behind it. That always makes for an incredible race here.
9.5 minutes left to go, qualifying here for the 4 hours of Paul Ricard. It's the SimGrid Endurance Cup Season 2, the penultimate round with David Christie and Luke Rogers bringing you through all of the action. This is Daniel Rowe for G4 Sim Racing, number 94 outfit at the moment, the back of the grid. The last qualifying car right now, no doubt there'll be some improvements, but yeah, 3.5 seconds off. You can't imagine it wouldn't be too hard to make some significant gains. And to be honest, he would need to get 1.5 seconds just to get himself up about 5 places. Such is the incredible pace that we're seeing here today. We've got, I'm just trying to work that out there, 28 drivers, ladies and gentlemen, 28 drivers within 2 seconds. And you better mark my words, that is going to come down significantly in the next 8.5 minutes.
Yeah, I went back to a race I did around here with some, like a community league that I raced. I looked at my lap time and was comparing myself to this, and I realised I'd be so far down the grid that I'm not going to mention my actual lap time. But it's such a competitive league, and we've got drivers. Michael's putting out over here. Zolder's a driver we expect to be closer to the top of the leaderboard, and he's setting 2 seconds off the pace right now. It's quite a surprise, really.
Yeah, that's I don't know what to say about that one, really, because he's consistently on that pace. It's not like it's just been wrecked lap after wrecked lap. He's just really, really struggling. It could be, he's maybe feeling generous and wanting to give other people a chance at getting up towards the top 10, but knowing Soldatov as I do, I don't think that's the case at all, so he'll be fighting to get back up there. John Monroe in the Jensen Team Rocket RJN outfit just now. Again, 17th place. That sounds bad, and then you realise it's 1 second off of the pace there. So teammates with Tobin Lee, of course. So we'll have to see how they can do at the moment in the number 22 car. But 17th place at the moment, and still not able to make any any gains on that. So first to 16th place now, separated by, oh my goodness me, as the car comes flying back onto the track there. And again, from my own personal driving experience on this track, I really struggle with this, let alone putting in a fast lap. I just get, my brain can't compute all these different layouts and which one we're actually supposed to take.
Well, I mean, they do it in real life. They always take the wrong layout. At some point during the weekend, we see people that overshoot corners. That, I mean, obviously on lap 1, you see people that just decide they're not going to bother with turn 1, and they just do the straight line version of it to avoid any incidents. But going back to what I was saying with Zolder, and also what I was saying with my lap that I was a bit depressed with, even I'm faster than what Zolder's doing, which either says that the Coach Dave setups are incredible, or Zolder's a bit off form, or maybe both. But I'm expecting to see some improvements from that, because that is, he is a driver that traditionally is competing top 10, in pretty much every race he's in. So I don't know whether they've, not had time to, to put in the practice, not had time to perform. I know the Mercedes can be a bit of a temperamental beast around here, but we do have one in second place, so it's not like it's the car. So I really want to see some improvement for them. But, the rest of the grid, it's so close. I say it's close, 1.3 seconds doesn't look that close, but it's almost a 2-minute lap. It's quite a difficult track, and especially if you're sort of stuck in traffic, you've got that, the lack of clean air. 1.3 seconds is still pretty tight for 23 teams.
And traffic is going to start to be a massive issue now. Maybe not so much in the first 10 minutes, where the cars are fairly close together, but now they're all spread out. So getting yourself a clear bit of tarmac is going to be an absolute premium right now. As we see there, McConrack in the Fordzilla Williams JIM machine, the number 66 outfit, currently down in 26th position at the moment. Of course, he's sharing that car this weekend with Charlie Crossland in that purple machine. 1.4 seconds off the pace. And again, one point that I was making earlier is that third place in Championship Food Critics, the number 39 machine of Jaroslav Hondig and Darren King, was down in 10th place. And 4.5 minutes to go, they're going to have to start getting a move on now, Luke.
Yeah, we're seeing some drivers getting a move on them. Cormac jumped up, I think, by 4 or 5 tenths there with his last lap. So showing, I think, that those drivers towards the bottom aren't there because they're slow. They're there because maybe they're not quite getting those laps in. But, we were talking about that sort of dirty, clean air mechanic around here. It can actually sometimes be better, depending on what car you're in, to actually be behind someone. Because of how long that Mistral straight is, you can gain 3 or 4 tenths behind a car. If you're sort of 8 tenths off a car, that's sort of the optimal as you enter the start of the Mistral. But the problem is you don't get that dirty F for the final sector. So the perfect way to do a lap around here is to have a teammate that does sector 1 in front of you, gives you a tow along the Mistral, and then gets out the way for the final sector. And honestly, that's I'm surprised. We do have some teams in here that have there's multiple cars, and I'm surprised we're not actually seeing any work, because it is so strong, that tow. And it's not even just for the Mistral. You can give a tow pretty much from the final turn all the way to the end of the Mistral straight, and you'll gain time doing it.
Well, we'll have to see how this final 3.5 minutes of qualifying is going to pan out, because it is so vitally important for the 4 hours that we are about to embark on very, very shortly. As a reminder, half an hour is going to be the new broadcast start time when we go off for our little break and come back and give you all the build up towards the race. So Tobias Fepper though on pole position, and look, we got something pointed out in our ears there from Michael, and it was something that I noticed as well. Apart from 1 or 2 breaking maybe into the top 10, top 15, we haven't really seen any recent changes in that top 5, have we?
Yeah, it's quite surprising, because that's not normally what we get. We tend to have those drivers that put in those really good first lap times, that get their sort of perfect lap first time out, and then we tend to see certain drivers. I'm thinking the 888, which is a car that usually comes strong in qualifying. I'm thinking, just looking down, obviously Jardia is a driver that we normally see qualify pretty well. Those kind of guys step up. Valentin Barrier as well, down in 19th place. Obviously, was it the Sprint Cup that he won or came second place? The one we did together just recently. I'm trying to remember the track now, but we saw some. Oh, my brain is going. But in the Sprint Cup round, the Sprint Cup race we just did, we saw Barrier obviously being one of the fastest drivers on the track, down in at 90th place. He's the kind of driver that usually comes strong, in qualifying, and I'm expecting to see him improve a bit. But seeing those drivers not get within a couple of tenths of those top drivers is a real surprise. Rats is an improving lap here, coming out of the final turn. If he's got that right, it's going to be good. I think it's going to get right up in those top two. Does he get pole? He does not quite. He's within the 10th now of pole, but not quite getting that final 10th in to get into the position. And now we've sort of got a nearly 3/10 gap down to 4th place. So there's sort of a gulf in the field appearing between that top three and the rest of the grid.
There certainly is, and I'm pretty sure Capoccia has improved on that last lap as well, because he was 8/100ths of a second behind your pole sitter Tobias Pfeffer, and now moves up to just 0.02 of a second. So the times are getting very, very squeaky for Tobias Pfeffer. But to be honest, he really doesn't have anything extra to do right now. A minute or so left to go. Even if he was to be knocked down to second place, as there McCormack goes to 9th place there and almost destroys our camera rig, our virtual camera rig there, and very, very close there. And that Mercedes looking quite dangerous in the. I'm trying to think of what shade of purple that car is. It's yeah. Kostas Buzianis is trying to get himself into the top 10, and to be honest, he could be into the third row. He's on pace to be around about 0.4 of a second off of the leader right now, so that would of course put him in a 1:53.2 if that is what we're seeing just now. Looks to be a nice smooth entry into the final set of corners here, down through Virage de la Tour, and then it's into Virage de Pont, and then out of the corner, boots the accelerator down. And this is looking very, very interesting indeed. Can he do it though? Buzianis gets an excellent run out.
So he ran out of fuel.
I was saying that. Has he just died on the start-finish line?
I think he ran out of fuel.
That's not very professional.
That's unfortunate.
That's not very professional.
Yeah, and that is the end of the session as well. So he would have had time to do one more lap if he'd got that right. But running out of fuel on the run to the line and an improving lap. We're seeing other drivers improve as well. So he's going to start dropping down the leaderboard now, because he's not been able to get that lap in. That is really unfortunate for the 34 car. But so coming back to this, we see this tow here. That second car behind, is it? Are they going to go for an overtake? It's Capoccia right behind. He is going to go for it. Jardia has to defend. I think Jardia is just going to have to give up on the lap. But that tow there, I was saying that tow could be really strong, but only when you sort of get that car that gets out of the way. And Jardia helping out Capoccia there is going to give him 2 or 3 tenths at least.
Again, you were making that other counterpoint as well, Luke, that it's a poison chalice. It's great to get the extra speed, it's great to get the extra tow, but at some point you have to make the move on the car in front, otherwise it's going to then start slowing you down, and that then potentially compromises your entry and exit into further corners. Pavel Jarabowski comes across the line, doesn't improve. It's still 23rd place, 1.2 seconds off of the lead there, but it's still going to be then Tobias Pfeffer on pole position with a 1:52.875 in that Lambo, looking very, very tidy indeed. He makes his way to pit lane. Andrea Capoccia for the Yas Heat team in second place there, with 2/100ths of a second being the gap to there. And then it is of course Rats in the 191, Samuel Rats in the Racing Line Motorsport 191 Ferrari 488, making it in 3 cars under 1 second. That is how close it's been today, Luke.
Yeah, and there's a couple, I don't want to say surprises, I feel it's a bit harsh on some of those drivers, but you look at that sort of top 10, and in terms of going to the other SimGrid events that we have, the World Cup that we did, the Sprint Cup that's just finished, they're not drivers that we always see up there. They're sort of, it's a bit of a mix-up today. Some of those drivers that we expect to be in the top 10 aren't quite there. Some of the ones that we perhaps don't expect to be up there are right at the top. So, bar maybe, I think Capoccia, Honzik, Neuyox, I think Pfeffer as well as a driver that we see fairly often towards the front of the grid. The rest of them are not necessarily surprises, but it's really nice to see, that sort of mix-up in the grid.
I think the word you're looking for is welcome new faces to the top 10. It's names that we don't normally see. They're normally between...
the championship leader, obviously putting himself in first place. So, they've been pretty good all season.
But underneath that, obviously, you've then got, as I said, the Yaz Heat team, the 149 of Andrea Capoccia and Mikhail Statsenko. Will be fascinating to see just how they get through that one as well. Rat in third place with Marek Shintz in the 191 Racing Line Motorsport. It's then Luca Bert and Jack McIntyre in fourth place. You've got Tvarin and Curtin in fifth place, Lozio and Santoro in sixth. Noyox and Camera in seventh, Garcia, Martinez Amer in eighth place. It's then Dare McCormack and Charlie Crossland in ninth place, and Jaroslav Honzig with Dan King in 10th. And we'll bring you a full rundown of the qualifying and the grids as we head towards the race. But there we go. Qualifying is in the bag, Luke. So we are all set to come back in just 20 minutes' time to get racing here for 4 hours of Paul Ricard. I am very, very excited, my friends. How about you?
Yeah, we see. I think a start of things to come in that qualifying. We've got a mix-up of cars towards the front. There's all sorts of manufacturers, all sorts of sort of performance in the cars. I was looking at the sector times and the changes, even in the top sort of five. There's multiple tenths between cars in every single sector. So I think we're going to have a really good race. We're going to have these cars that, sector one, they're really fast. Sector two, they're really slow. Sector three, they come back again. It's just going to be constant for 4 hours. I think this track really encourages that sort of, not necessarily a concertina effect, but, I always talk about when you battle, you bring other cars in, you create this sort of pack. This is a track where battling happens all the time through the entire track, especially in GT cars. And that does form these big packs of cars. So it should be an incredible race.
With 90 points on offer to the victor, this is a pivotal weekend in Season 2 of the Endurance Cup. Our penultimate round is about to start in 20 minutes' time. Join us for live coverage. Hit that like and subscribe button. From myself, David Christie, and from Luke Rogers, joining me here in the commentary box. Thanks very much, and we will see you in 20 minutes' time.